Hi, welcome to another motion tutorial. This tutorial, I want to go over exactly what Motion has to offer with effects inside its library. In here, in this first group, I just imported one clip from a local commercial that I'm working on for this arcade place, and it's just these two kids playing. So I'm going to slide that over to the beginning of my timeline, just to organize it. Now you notice if you hold shift down and you bring the clip together, it actually snaps on the timeline. So whenever you have things, it's a nice little handy tool to bring elements together. Hold the shift key down and it'll actually snap to wherever I go with my playhead. But for now, we're going to leave it like that. The three tabs up here, you have File Browser, which is what's on the computer and what you might want to bring into Motion. The second tab here is the library, which is what I wanted to kind of go over as far as the different types of elements that are available to you. And in here, the first thing I wanted to go over was image units. And image units allows you to add all kinds of effects to your video. Some of the things you can do as far as if you click on the blur, which is the folder, it brings up the different elements down here. And if I wanted to just do say a zoom blur, just try it out. And I just drag that, highlight it, drag it over to my video clip. It gives me this zoom blur. If I play it, it looks like that. Wow, it's kind of funky looking. Now, if I go into the inspector, up here in this tab, and I decide to change the amount, I can do some pretty cool things. I can start it with 0, and I'll hit the record button to make a keyframe. You can also do the keyframe by clicking over here and doing add keyframe, but I'll show you the easy way first. So if I have the record button highlighted, and I just bring down my timeline over here, say right about there, and I decide to bring this up, whoa, there it goes, like that. So that could be pretty cool. Now if you go back and play the effect, it starts off and then goes to like that. Now, ideally I want that clip to be up there a little bit longer, and I'd like that effect to happen quicker. So to do that, I just come over down here. I'm going to highlight my timeline, make it a little bit bigger. And if I just click on that dot, if I can get to it, my laptop here is a little sometimes tough to move around. So I got that dot there. That's all you got to do sometimes, just make it bigger. And let me move this over here. Now if I highlight that and just drag it down this way, it's going to do that effect quicker, but it's also going to leave the shot up for a few seconds, and it might be a cool little thing. Let's see. So he's playing the air hockey game, and then it just does this really cool zoom. And then from there you could dissolve or do some kind of other effect to move your transition along. And that's just by adding, going back to the library here, using an image unit and just using one blur. If you can see, there's a whole bunch of them. If I click all, there's 109 items. And some of them just add in color filters to an effect. Like I said, you could spend hours and hours just going through all these different ones and trying them off. To get rid of that zoom blur, if I didn't like it, I just highlight it down here in the timeline or up here, either way, and just hit delete, and it's gone. Let's do something that I have used before. Let's go gloom. If I drag the gloom clip over the air hockey clip, it gives me this kind of glowish or darkish type gloomish look, which might be good for a monster mini golf spot. It's supposed to be dark, deep, and demented. But then if you go into the inspector here, and you can change the radius, you can change the intensity, and again, it's just really get a feel for the different things that are available for you there as far as adding something to your video elements or text elements. A couple other quick little things I'll show you. If I delete these out here, whoops, delete that. If I go to text, just type in impact. I might actually bring that up a little bit in size, something like that. Give it an impact. Again, center it, and go into the library. And I go to gradients. And I say, oh, I'd like to do and look at some of these different colors here. I want something that's going to be impact. Maybe something that's something really bright and orangey. So I click on this gradient here, sundown. I just drag it over the impact, and there you go. I got some colorful text as a gradient. That works that. And if I wanted to change that gradient, it's pretty easy where I can go into the inspector. I can go into the, actually, right here is where I can make some of my adjustments as far as the gradient goes and what colors I want to make it. If I wanted to change that to a different color, I can do that there. So again, you really got to mess around and play with the motion to get a feel for some of that stuff. That's another example. A couple other things that the library offers, if I delete this out of here. And if you go into replicators, let's work our way down the line here. Generator will actually generate different types of effects, whether it's clouds, gradient, lens flare, and you can bring these into motion and animate them. Image units allows you, it has some different types of things. I don't really use them too much, but there are a few things there that are nice to use that you can animate as well. Particle emitters, there's a tremendous amount of them. There's 209 of them, and if you go through them all, if you play them up here, it has these images that you can just add to any type of project you're working on. I did a haunted house once, and I used these bats as for a commercial spot with a haunted house. Yeah, you really have to go through them all to really see what they're all about and have some fun with them. Replicators, there's all kinds of backgrounds, different types of effects that you can use. I was actually trying to hit the cube one here. It has these cubes that come in, and all you gotta do is just drag these things out into the here and go to spacebar here and play them, and there you go. You have a background, and then usually I let that stay as just one whole group, and then I might add groups and work around it that way. Lower thirds, if you go into replicators, there's a whole bunch of different types of lower thirds where you have that background. You say, well, maybe I want to put in, let's see what this one does. Yeah, it's kind of a funky, let's see what neon does. Say I want to put in a lower third here. So you put the lower third, you put it above the background, obviously. You put it down there, you can see a safe title area there. And you got, you actually have that animated as well. And then you could also add text in. Just come over here, click the text tool, come here, and you can put in Joe Smith. And there you go. You got a nice little pre-made lower third with a background. So there are a lot of options. The last couple I'll go over is there's shapes, where we have different types of shapes available. Gradients, I showed you. Fonts, there's it just really shows you different types of fonts available. The last big one is content, which is way down here, and actually it's probably got the most stuff in it. So if you go to content and you go in here and you decide to say, oh, I'm looking for a frame, I'm looking for a picture frame. Well, there actually is picture frames available. And you can just go in here and search. I can click on frame, and within there it will show me all the different types of frames that are available. So I can drag one of these frames, bring that up top. So now I got a frame in there, and then I could take all the other elements, which are hopefully in this group, I think. Actually, they're in two groups. But I could take this element here, and and the thing about groups is that groups have the whole bunch of elements combined together, and so you can take those elements and size them all down or do an effect to them all by just changing the group's parameters. So if I go to Inspector and go to Properties, and I go to the group, and I go to Transform, I can scale the whole group down. So that scales my text and my lower third. And I could do the same thing for the background. I can click over here in the background, scale that down. That's going to bring that down. And now I have all that stuff within that background. If I can bring that group 2 up by up here, you got something like that.